Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. So today what I have for you guys, I have a new kind of video and a new kind of series idea. So what this series is going to be all about, it's all about current events taking place in the Championship, and I want to get loads of discussions going on in the comments down below about recent things happening and the sort of questions I ask you guys, because I think it's going to be an interesting season this year, the Championship, as it always is. And so let's just get straight into the video. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was actually Brighton. So obviously they are currently on 19 points out of a possible 21 under Chris Hughton, which is just absolutely phenomenal so far. They've had an absolutely magnificent start to the season. So I'd love to know in the comments down below from Brighton fans where they think they will realistically finish in the end of the season. So in my predictions video, if you've not seen that, I'll leave it in the comments down below, in the description down below. But basically I did a predictions video for where I thought all of the Championship clubs would finish at the end of the season, and I actually had Brighton in 14th. So let me know where you think, Brighton fans, you will realistically finish come the end of the season now, because I'm sure you'll be much higher than 14th considering your start to the season. And obviously Hemed for Brighton has been absolutely terrific so far this season. He's currently got 5 goals, which is absolutely fantastic for him, as he is a new signing from Spain. So Brighton fans, comment down below where you think you will finish at the end of the season, as I will be very interested to know, because I think this year at the top of the table, since there's been so many clubs spending, you know, so much money, teams like Middlesbrough, Derby, etc., they've been spending, you know, tens of millions on players. So I'd be very interested to know where you think you rank within those clubs, sort of. Whether you think you'll make the top 6 or top 2, I'd be very interested to know. The next thing I wanted to talk about was actually the 3 relegated clubs from last season's Premier League. So obviously that being Burnley, Hull and QPR. So I'd also love to know from their fans where they think they will realistically finish at the end of the season. Obviously Burnley are currently in 3rd and Hull are currently in 4th, with QPR just outside the playoffs. So I'd be very interested to know, especially from QPR fans, as at the start of the season I was under the assumption that Charlie Austin would leave the club, and obviously they are in quite a rebuilding stage, but since they managed to keep Charlie Austin and Matt Phillips, they are in a very strong position in this season now. So I'd love to know from QPR fans where, if they genuinely think they can push for playoffs this year, considering they still have their 2, you know, top players, or whether they think that Chris Ramsey's perhaps not the manager, or if he is the manager, you think you're still going to be in quite a rebuilding job this season. Because at the start of the season I predicted that QPR would finish in 9th place. So obviously I was under the impression that Charlie Austin would leave the club. So the fact that he stayed is absolutely massive for QPR so far this season. Obviously he has started fantastically with scoring 5 goals, and so he's definitely not going to be goal shy this year, and he's definitely going to be amongst the top scorers. And then in terms of Burnley, a lot of times when Premier League clubs do go down to the Championship, we see them sort of they stay there for quite a while, you know. And of course we've seen teams like Wigan who have gone down twice in a row. We've seen obviously Wolves did that a couple of years ago when they went down to League One, going from the Premier League. So I think it'll be very interesting to see, because this season we don't really have one of those clubs, you know. All 3 of them I think will be competing at the top end of the table this season, so it makes it quite interesting going into the relegation battle. So in terms of the relegation battle, the teams that currently occupy the bottom 3 are Rotherham, Blackburn and Bristol City. So in terms of them 3 clubs, they obviously not had the best starts of the season, but in terms of Bristol City, they obviously came to Deepdale on Tuesday. I was actually very impressed with them. They played some very good football. They like to keep the ball on the ground, and they pass the ball very fast. All players seem to be very happy, ball-playing players, and they both, you know, seem to be happy on either foot that they go with. But the problem with Bristol City so far this season, I've heard quite a few of their fans say, and it was evident at Deepdale, that they just can't finish their chances. If they had finished all their chances, and if Pickford, our goalkeeper, wasn't in such tremendous form, then they probably would have won the game about 5-1 or something. But it did end 1-1 in the end. So Bristol fans, are you a bit worried that you've not been taking your chances, or is the fact that you're playing well good enough for you, and reassurance that at some point you will start burying your chances into the back of the net? So in terms of the relegation battle, at the start of the season I predicted that the bottom 3 clubs would be MK Dons, Huddersfield and Rotherham. So obviously Rotherham are currently bottom of the table, only on 2 points. Rotherham fans, are you worried about the season to come? Obviously last season you did stay up just about. I believe Rotherham stayed up by about 4 points, something like that. So I'd be interested to know, Rotherham fans, what you think of this season. Obviously, you've lost some of your big players from last season, being Ben Pringle and Craig Morgan. So have you replaced them good enough? And do you realistically think you have a good chance of staying in the Championship this season, as it's obviously not been the best of starts for you guys so far? Then in terms of the next teams that occupy the next places, we have Brentford, Huddersfield, Preston, Sheffield Wednesday, Bolton and MK Dons. So MK Dons have been fantastic so far this season. They've also played some good football, and I predicted that they would actually finish bottom of the table, but they have sort of taken their League One form and carried it on into the Championship. So I'm sure that they will be, I don't think they'll go down anymore, if I'm honest. I think that they will be hovering in and around that area, but I think that perhaps they will have enough to stay up now. I don't know. My opinions on the Championship, who's going to go up, who's going to go down, is always changing. So I'd love to get your guys' opinions on where you think your club will finish come the end of the season. So in terms of Brentford, Huddersfield and Preston, obviously they haven't had the best starts of the season. I did actually predict that Huddersfield will go down. Whether I think that's still true, I'm not sure. I think it's yet to be seen yet, anything from Huddersfield. But in terms of Brentford, they've obviously not had the best starts of the season, and tomorrow they actually do face my club, Preston, at Griffin Park. So I think that will be definitely an interesting game. Obviously Brentford being on 5 points at the moment and Preston being on 6 points at the moment. And I am also hoping, from a Preston perspective, that Joe Garner will get his first goal of the season, as he's definitely deserved it. He hit the crossbar against Bristol City and hit the post against Derby. So I'd definitely love to see Joey get his first of the season. Finally, in terms of the playoff chasers, the teams that are currently just outside the playoffs are Birmingham, QPR, Nottingham Forest, Derby, Reading, Charlton and Fulham, and obviously Leeds just below them. Then in terms of the 4 teams that currently occupy the playoff places at the moment, we have Cardiff, Ipswich, Hull and Burnley. So out of those clubs, and if you support any of those clubs, do you think you have what it takes to make the playoffs this year? I think in recent years, there's always been one club that's been quite a surprise package in the playoffs. Obviously, last season it was probably Brentford. So if you think that your club could be that surprise this year, let me know in the comments down below. As obviously, I think the big hitters, at least 3 of the big hitters, will be in the playoffs this year. Big hitters meaning teams like Burnley, Hull, Middlesbrough, QPR, perhaps Derby, you know, the teams that have spent quite a bit of money and have a solid squad. Or do you think that your squad has what it takes to make the top 2 and automatic promotions? So the playoffs is always quite a topsy-turvy time for seasons, and it's definitely an interesting one, because teams that, you know, can make the playoffs one year will be in the relegation scrap the next year. It's a very interesting thing to see, and obviously vice versa. So if you do support a club that's hovering around the playoff places, let me know in the comments down below if you think your squad has what it takes to make the playoffs this year. Obviously, I think that Birmingham stand a good chance. I think that they have a very solid manager and a very good squad in general, and I think that they definitely do stand a good chance. They've been good ever since last season when they sacked Lee Clark as manager. I think that ever since then they have done very well for themselves, and they managed to take last season's form into this season, and as a result of that, they are currently just outside the playoffs. Then in terms of Nottingham Forest, of course, they have lost their probably the best player in Antonio, and Asombalonga is still out injured. So Nottingham Forest fans, do you realistically still think you have what it takes to make the playoffs? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Let me know in the comments down below. And then there's obviously the rest of the chasing teams. So that will wrap it up for this first championship sort of video, guys, sort of discussion video, which I'd love to get going on in the comments down below. So today's question, like I've already said multiple times, is do you think so far your club has overachieved or underachieved so far this season? And so as a result of that, where do you think you will now finish come the end of the season? So one thing I want to say before we do wrap up this video, guys, is that I did make a video with another Preston YouTuber, which I will leave in the description down below and an annotation at the end. Basically what it is, it was sort of like a season review of all of Preston's goals from last season. So go give that a watch, go give him a sub, he's a really cool YouTuber. But other than that, that will wrap it up for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you all in the next one.